Good evening, everyone. This is Valerie Newton. I'm going to turn my camera on real quick just so you'll know I'm a real person. Thank you for joining us tonight. We have several folks that are going to be presenting tonight. They've got some really great information for you on how to help your child with homework. We have Nicole Peterson, Denise Lewis, and Jamie Weeks that are part of our curriculum and instruction department, and they're going to talk with you first about some homework tips and strategies. And then we also have Mr. Robert Smith, who is one of our AVID team lead teachers that is going to talk with you about some additional homework strategies. So without further ado, I'm going to hand this over to Nicole and Denise and Jamie. I will say that we do have our chat box open. So if you have any questions that you'd like to ask along the way, you can certainly type those in the chat box. We will have an opportunity at the end of the presentation, though, for everyone to ask questions at that time. So if you think of something along the way, don't feel like we're not going to get to your question, because we will definitely get to your question. But without further ado, we're going to go ahead and let Nicole and Denise and Jamie get started.
Hi, everyone. Again, I am Nicole Peterson. Denise Lewis is with me, and Jamie is our other person. Wave, Jamie. So I'm going to share our slides real quick. So give us just a minute to adjust. Just a second. Can everybody see the presentation? Yes. Okay, perfect. Okay. So I have to go back here, though. Let me slideshow. There we go. Okay, perfect. So welcome tonight. Again, Nicole Peterson. We're going to talk to you about homework tonight. And this is a quick little parent university on homework. One of the first things we wanted to talk about, obviously, when you have questions about homework, the first thing you want to do is communicate with someone. So we wanted to kind of give it a quick moment to go over the different ways to communicate and to get information on your children's grades, your children's attendance, as well as how to communicate with the school and the teacher. So I will let Miss Weeks go into how PowerSchool works in just a bit. But PowerSchool is basically an app you can load on your phone, and Miss Weeks will go over how you can do that. But it essentially gives you updates, notifications live about your child's attendance and your child's grades. So it's really an essentially a great communication tool for you to keep on top of your child's grades and where their academic progress is at. So if you have your PowerSchool app and you see that your child's grade is going down and you have questions, you have some options for communication, and we'll talk about those again. And they are email. Obviously, you can always call the school, and we also have a district-wide app known as Remind. So these are our communication methods. Ms. Weeks, I'm going to let you talk to them a little bit about the PowerSchool app.
All right. Good evening, everyone. So just wanted to let you know, the PowerSchool app, parents have access to their students' grades upon using PowerSchool. I'm sorry. A code and a password is needed to access your students' grades. How do you get this code and password? It is given to the parents by the data managers at your student's school. And actually, when you go in and you request the code and password, they actually have you sign a form to let them know that you have received that code and password. So you do have to go inside. Your student can't get it for you. You actually have to sign for it. Parents can download the PowerSchool app from the App Store and create your account to be linked to their students' grades. And if you have issues with that, the data managers at the school will be more than willing to help you get set up. As teachers update grades, you can receive notifications on your device letting you know of the update. So when I was a teacher, as soon as I hit submit, the grades went in the grade book. They were saved, and parents were texting me left and right asking questions. So it is very up to date. It's very automatic. It's a great tool. So parents would call and say, I had no idea. And I'd say, do you have Power School? And they would say, no, how do I get it? And it's just a great way for you to keep up with what your kids are doing in the classroom and their current grades.
And so I will just reinforce everything she said. I think you can see my camera, but I actually have it on my app for my own children. So it's the blue one. And it's a Power School app, and I constantly get notifications. The only thing I do want to tell you about is K and 1 do not have numeric grades. They still have an old school report card. So their grades are the only 2 grade levels that do not go in the Power School app. You could get attendance on them through there, but you cannot get grades through there. So it obviously is second and up for that. And also you can have multiple kids. I myself have multiple different schools, middle school and elementary, at multiple, obviously, locations. And all of that will sync in there to your one account. Does that cover that, Jamie?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So the other 2 forms of communication, well, actually 3, is phone. Phones still work. Your first line of contact with questions about homework is always going to be the teacher. And there's 3 methods for contacting your teachers. Remind, which is the district app, email your teacher, and phone. I will always say that your quickest response is most likely going to be remind or email, because most teachers are teaching during the day. And so they have a short planning period. And so their response time during that, they're not able to just pick up the phone anytime throughout the day. So the Remind app is, if you want to talk about that at all, but Denise, she's the one who actually handles the app with Miss Newton, but essentially it's already rostered with all of our kids, and that comes through your enrollment pack. The information that you put on your enrollment for your child is what we roster into Remind, and you automatically get access to this app, and it's a texting app that you can text the teacher. So that is a great way to get up with your teachers. Just always remember to respect office hours, and they may not be able to immediately respond. As teachers, they are responsible for the children during the day, so give them 24 hours.
And you can also go at the App Store and get your Remind app.
Yes, I'll kind of show you that one too. So that's the blue one with the big R. So some homework practices and procedures. Now that you know the communication methods, each individual school has created their own homework policy to fit the needs of their students. So you're going to need to check with your child's teacher and their school about their process and procedures. I will tell you some trends that we have with elementary schools and middle schools, but again, you'll need to, for specific answers as to how each teacher handles their homework, you're going to need to contact the school. Elementary schools, for the most part, use planners or folders, and they're little plastic folders, usually in K2, and their homework is on one side and it says return to school, and then the other one is keep at home. And a lot of our elementary schools use that standard method for communicating homework and putting in their folder. Once they hit older grade levels in elementary school, they usually start having planners, and the teachers have them write in there what their homework is. Middle schools, a lot of them also use planners, but also use Google Classroom to put their work in, as we have obviously pivoted during COVID to online learning. So those are basically the trending ways that our schools use homework procedures, but again, contact your school for specific ones. Right now, we kind of want to tell you about our different district curriculums so that you can know what they look like, because we're going to show you in the online platform we have for our students, which houses all of their online resources, what these apps look like and where they're at for students. So in elementary school, the elementary district curriculum is CKLA for ELA. So for reading, for kindergarten to 5th grade, we use what is known as CKLA. It is a new curriculum this year. It also embeds science and social studies within this curriculum, and they have access to the online resources, and we will show you what that looks like in this platform in just a bit. For math, they have Into Math curriculum. So that is also another app. They call that the ED app. Mm-hmm. And we'll show you that as well in just a second. But that is your elementary. It's reading and math. It's pretty simple. HMH, Into Math, CKLA. Middle school, Jamie, I'll let you go over those.
All right. So I'm the instructional coach for middle school, and we have several different programs for our curriculum or to teach our curriculum. The first of which is Amplify ELA. So elementary has CKLA, which is also an Amplify product. And so we have the middle school edition, which is 6th through 8th grade, and it follows along with the science of reading. We have HMH as well for our math, the same as the elementary school. Learn Ed is for science. This is a program that we use. You might have seen little booklets come home with your students. Study Island is also for science. And then we have DBQ, which is a document-based questioning for social studies, as well as an HMH that we didn't list on here that's also for social studies. So these are all of the products that we have to teach the middle school curriculum.
And again, we'll show you those apps in just a second. After we cover high school, we're going to transition into the platform and show you what they look like. For high school curriculum, these are the ones that they utilize. They have adopted Study Sync for the English curriculum, Actively Learn as well. They use Envision Math. It is new. They also use Learn Ed, which is the same as middle school for science. HMH for social studies, and then they also have the actual teachers have access to something known as the Sandhills Regional Social Studies curriculum, but there is not an app for that. But we're going to now transition over, and I am going to show you a different, I'm going to stop sharing there, and we're going to show you what this looks like for kids.
While you're doing that, Nicole, we also use in middle school for Math 1 Envision, the Envision curriculum as well.
Okay. All right. So parents, this will show you what the apps look like. Go ahead, Denise.
So I'm Denise Lewis. I am the K-12 digital program specialist. That's a fancy title. That means I put out fires all day long. I'm the one that helps make sure I'm one of a team in our technology department that makes sure that your child and your child's teacher has access to these programs at all times. So I want to just go through and just help you become familiar what these icons look like. Now your children, no matter what grade level they're in, they will have their own individual login for ClassLink. And you can ask your children about it, and they should be able to produce it for you. A lot, especially elementary schools, they put it on a laminated card. And I can show you, can they see me now?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Some of your kids may have a QR code.
I'm just going to cover them.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
A QR code that they can just put up at the camera, and it logs them in automatically. Some are old enough, they don't need that. Usually it's our kindergarten, first grade tops that use the QR codes. Most of them have their own login and passwords they use. So ask your children about those. All right. For the elementary and for the middle school, they're all going to use this orange Amplify icon. This is going to be for their ELA, for their CKLA that Nicole talked about. They would do this one for their assessments that it'll take for beginning of the year, middle of the year, and end of the year, as well as their Amplify reading, which we're going to talk about more in a few minutes. So this is the elementary and the middle school.
Reading. That's elementary, middle, straight away. Mm-hmm. And then it's pretty simple as you go to the Ed app.
Yep.
That covers your middle and elementary math.
And one good thing about this, all the kids and the teachers, they all know to look for the smiley face. That's the biggest thing there. That's will let you know that is their math app.
And so pause there for a second. And one, again, the reasons we're showing you these is maybe your kid left their textbook home at night or needed something to do something on the app. They have access to these online resources and online text through these platforms.
All right. So also that's the middle elementary. We said middle school also for Amplify, also the math for the Ed. Middle school also we have the Learned Ed. I did put these in alphabetical order to make it easier for me to find. And this is what the students are going to look like. You see the little green emblem on it. And this is for science. Study Island is going to be under the Edmentum. You always look for the palm trees for Study Island. And like I said, this is going to be for middle school science. and then DPQ online. Did I go by it?
Is it up? Yeah, right there.
Oh, there. Sorry. There we go. It's the
red.
red. DBQ online. All right. For high school, we have the study sync. I don't know if we have any high school parents on. Oh, goodness. I did not add the app.
It's okay.
I'm sorry.
So it's a study sync app.
Yep.
And the high school kids obviously are going to be able to show that to you.
Mhm. And it's McGraw-Hill.
It's McGraw-Hill. Envision would be the other one. for
Okay.
them.
And then Envision, we have Envision math curriculum, but it's going to be under the Savvis Easy Bridge. So Savvis Easy Bridge is going to be your Envision math curriculum. And the social studies, HMH, is going to be under the Holt Madoug. How you say Madoug?
Yeah, HMH. I just say that.
HMH.
It's right there.
I can't see. I need my
Yeah.
glasses on.
Right where she's pointing right there.
Yep.
Holt and Dougal. Mhm.
And Nicole said the Sandhills Regional Social Studies curriculum, we do not have an app for it this time.
And the last thing with high school is that LearnEd notebooks are also used for high school as well. So that gives you a roundabout of what all the different apps look like for all of our different online text materials.
And side note, your student's screen does not look like mine. I have everybody's on here. So your child's is going to be more tailored to what they're learning and going over in their curriculum. And we'll show you a couple examples in just a few minutes.
Yeah. And so basically what she means by that is elementary kids are not going to have access to high school apps. And vice versa. They would only see the ones that are related to them and their level. I need to go back to this and stop sharing. We are going to now show you some individual pathways. I did want to show you one other slide, if I can get back to that real quick. A tab to here. Okay. And there. Okay. So the next portion, which is we're almost nearing the end of ours, and this is where parents, really, I'm going to take a moment. If you want to help your child at home and you're not sure where to start, this is where I would start, okay? Putting aside the homework and the communication tools, but these are individual pathways, is what we call them, or individual resources that are basically adaptive programs to your child's learning. So what happens in all of these programs, our students at the beginning of the year take a diagnostic assessment and it places them where they're at in reading or math, and then they can log in and do work that is for them at their level. That is what an individual pathway is. There is no limit to how much work that they can do. So if you want to go home and you know that your child is not doing good in 6th grade math and they need to do iReady Math, they can log in and do their personalized pathway that is built for them on their level to close their gaps. So again, this is where I would stress our most time. So for our individual pathways, for elementary school, you have Amplify Reading. That's your pathway. And then you have iReady for math. So you have two. In middle school, it's very simple. For reading and math, it's iReady. And for high school, it's Edmentum. So what we're going to do now is show you what those individual pathways look like so that you can log your kid on when they're struggling in a particular subject area and they can do their adaptive pathway. And that is the majority of our part at this. So I'm gonna stop sharing and we're gonna show you some pathways and show you how to log on. So I think we want to start with that screen. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Yes. So a tab, and we are going to go to Sampson County Schools. Share. Go. Okay.
All right. So the first thing you're going to do, if you're sitting down with your child, you're going to pull up Sampson County Schools website. And if you'll see along the bottom of the page, you have all sorts of links there that Valerie has been so kind to put down there for easy access. You're going to come over to the class link. This is the platform that Sampson County Schools uses to house all of our apps, or all of our curriculum apps. So it's easy access. Once the student logs in with his or her username and password, it is like well, it even says something magical is happening. It's where a class link is logging them in automatically to that program. It's a one-stop shop. So I'm going to log in. Now, this is my screen, but I do have the opportunity. What did I just do? The opportunity to
Go back here. You're good. So again, while she's doing that,
is it open somewhere else?
I'm not sure. Can you log in as a
There
child?
it is.
Again, you would need your child's login to make that work. You go to our homepage, go to ClassLink, and then you would log on. Give us just a second. We're trying to emulate a child for you.
I've got it open too many times.
Okay.
That's what's happened.
Okay. We'll just close it away. Okay. Can you, open it. Sampson County Schools. Go to ClassLink and
make sure it's going to do it. What's happened?
I'm not sure. Can you log in? Do you have a login for a child? Okay.
I had yours up.
How about we do this? Can we pivot for a moment while we try and get it working? Could we pivot? And I do want to do one last slide, and then we're going to give AVID a minute, and then hopefully we can wrap up at the end with showing you this and see what our technical issues are.
So that's a good transition, but we do have a question, Nicole, that someone's posted up, and I'll go ahead and let you answer that. They want to know, how do we get the login and password for a first grader?
The teacher would have it for you. And the teacher could also give you that QR code like she was showing you.
Yep.
They can give you that for the first grader. I'd probably prefer that. A lot of our schools actually put it on their folders and laminate it too, and they send them home that way. That's how my child's was. My child is a second grader now, but last year it was laminated on a folder and came home with them. But you're going to need to ask the teacher for that. They have access to the logins. But that is what you're really going to need. Good question.
Okay. So while you and Denise are trying to get the login for this child, we'll go ahead and transition over to the strategies and study skills with Mr. Robert Smith. Let me pull up his presentation real quick. So if you'll give me a second to transition to that. We have all these transitions that we have to do. I believe it's that one.
Well, good evening, everybody. Mr. Robert Smith from Union Middle School. I teach the AVID curriculum, and I'm going to go ahead and tell you a little bit about AVID. If we go through the slides, I'll go ahead and fill in the group. Okay, AVID is a course where we teach college and career readiness with an emphasis on something called WICR. WICR is an acronym that means writing, inquiry, collaboration, organization, and reading. So one of the big things that we focus on when it comes to homework is making sure that your student is organized. Most schools, I believe, are having their students keep things in a binder. The teachers are asking them to put that stuff in the binder before they go home, before they pack up, so that it actually makes it home and they can work on it. Okay, we can advance the next one. Okay, this is an example of an AVID planner. And inside the planner, we require our students to write down what they did in class, like a brief summary of what they did in class, and then whether they had any homework or not. So when your child comes home at the middle and high school level, you can always ask to see that planner, when they tell you they don't have any homework, and you can check behind them to check that the expectation is actually being met. I'm not sure if the planner is the case in the elementary school, though. I can't speak for that, but I do know in the middle and high schools we do use them. Okay, Ms. Newton. I remember the first major adult purchase I made was actually a planner when I got to college. And the reason why I needed it is because there were so many assignments due at multiple times throughout the year. So what this does is it teaches them to go ahead and start getting prepared for organizational skills as they get bombarded, as the curriculum gets more intense and the workload becomes more intense as they travel through middle and high school. Hi, Ms. Newton. Okay, now we're going to talk about why your child is actually forgetting things. There's actually a lot of research done on this that goes all the way back into the 1800s that's still even pertinent today as to why forgetting happens and how it is that the human mind actually retains information. So this is, to me, it's an exciting concept, and I hope I don't get too carried away with this. All right, Ms. Newton. Okay, well, I guess there's some other things that are coming up, but learning logs, this is something that some of your teachers are employing to have a student reflect on their past week. Oftentimes, learning log will ask them to just go back and jot down what was the most exciting thing they learned, the most important thing they learned, what they enjoyed the most in class, what questions they still have. A learning log is a great way to kind of bring everything back around at the end of the week or at the end of the unit. Okay, Ms. Newton. Okay, here's an example of a learning log. You could see on the left side of the learning log, I believe that's where it talks about what actually took place in the class. And on the right side, it says what their favorite activity was. So when they do a learning log, they're not asked to write until their hand hurts. It's really a summary of what happened in class that week. Okay, Ms. Newton. Here's another example of a learning log. There's several different styles that your child could be using to reinforce learning. More learning log formats. Okay, we're getting ready to go into some focused note taking as well. So if you forward through this one. Okay, forward through the next slide as well. All right, so now we're at the part I was talking about why we forget. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about focused note taking and the curve of forgetting. Go ahead and proceed to the next slide. Okay, our word of the day today is repetition. Repetition is the act of repeating, saying things over and over and over again, repeatedly. This is the key when it comes to learning, is getting multiple repetitions of a material. And I want to go ahead and dive a little bit into that today. Okay, here's some examples of repetition. I once had a parent say to me, this was very poignant. They said, I know my kids is brilliant because they know the words to like 500 songs. So why is that? Well, it's kind of like this. If you do something once, you don't really, like if it's a song, know it that well. You're just kind of bopping your head along with it. The second time you listen to a song, you may be humming along with it. Maybe you know the chorus a little bit. The third time you listen to that song, you probably know some of the words to it because you kind of are getting the repetition going on there. The fourth time you listen to it, you know a little bit more words. By the fifth time that you listen to a song, what's happening then is you know all the words, you got it. The windows are rolled down, you're singing it as you're screaming down the street. And that's what's happened. It's like that happy birthday song. You've sung it so many times that even when you're 80, 90 years old, you're still going to remember the words to it just because of the number of repetitions that you've had over the years. Sports are the same way. If you want to get really good at sports, you have to have multiple repetitions as well. Like, for example, if I went out and played basketball, I would really stink it up because I don't get any repetitions. If I go against one of your children who practices basketball every day, they're gonna really be a superstar when it comes to that. Even animals learn through repetitions. Like dogs, I enjoy training dogs, and the more times they do it, the more it kind of sticks in there. And the same thing goes for getting ready for tests. If you take out your notes and you study them right before you take the test, it's a good chance you're not going to do very well. But if you look at them over and over and over again, your chances of success are going to increase. So we'll talk about how to make sure that you do this properly and to assure that these multiple repetitions occur. Go ahead, Ms. Newton. All right. This is a diagram called the curve of forgetting. There was a German psychologist named Herbert Ebbinghaus who did this back in the 1880s, where he found out that the first time you look at material, your rate of forgetting over the period of time on the bottom drops very significantly. When I first tell you my name right away at the beginning, you probably retain that information. For example, as time goes on and days and weeks pass, you all but forget that. So that's because you did not get but one repetition of material. Go ahead, Ms. Newton. Okay, you can see here that by looking at this graph, by bumping up repetitions, you definitely are going to increase your rate of memory. I don't think I have access to it, but the first time you look at this curve here, you can see that we very quickly forget the information we were learning in class. It drops down all the way to about 50% after just a couple hours. But if you go back and you revisit that same material, you're going to bump that repetition level up to over 100%. But as you can see, it starts to fade away a second time. You want to go back and bump it up a third, fourth, and a fifth time. By doing this, you are going to increase your rate of memory until, even if you only did it like half as much, you'd bring it up in the 90 percentile range. But if you did it at least 5 times, you would definitely have a high chance of success on your test. Ms. Newton? Okay, we call this the 10-24-7 method. What I mean by this is that if you were to tell a child to study, this is important. If you tell a child to study, a lot of times they don't know what to do. When you tell them to study, they go and they lock themselves in their room and they tell you they're going to study for 2 hours. And what they'll do is they'll open up their book to page 5 and they'll stare at it for 2 hours. But what ends up happening is after about 5 minutes, they start to daydream. They start to think about, cars and baseball, what they're doing after school tomorrow. So they come out and they tell you, I've studied for 2 hours, when in all actuality, they really haven't studied at all. So we recommend that you break up your study sessions into smaller chunks. I even really push this issue with my own children. We say that you should take your materials out, study it once, and then put it away. Don't do a 2-hour marathon session. Then, go downstairs, get something to drink, maybe go outside and shoot some hoops, walk the dog, come back and then look at it a second time. Then put it away, go out for a couple hours, go to Starbucks, get a coffee, whatever it is, come back and then study it a third time. And then, sleep on it that night, wake up the next day, go out and hang out with your friends, and then study a fourth time. So as long as you're breaking up your study sessions, you're less likely to start daydreaming. That's key. Ms. Newton? Okay, so whenever it comes to note taking, you can actually get multiple repetitions of your material if you do a few things. After school, when they come home, you can encourage your child to go ahead and circle any key words they find in their notes. Highlight. I'm a big fan of highlighting main ideas. Put question marks next to their points of confusion or things that they don't understand. Maybe put an asterisk next to a possible test question so that they think that the teacher's going to ask that. That would give them 1 repetition of the material if they were to actually read through their notes and do those 4 things there. Have them put their notes up, go shoot some hoops, and then let's get them out a second time, Ms. Newton. Go ahead and forward. Okay, the second time, maybe they can go through that note that they took in their math class and draw chunking lines where they're separating ideas. Like if they're talking about multiplication and then they go into division, they draw a line to show that that's where multiplication ends and division begins. Over here on the left side where it's blue, have them write their own question about that multiplication problem that they may not know, and maybe even try to anticipate some test questions. And that gives them another repetition of material. Then encourage them to put it up, take a break, go off and do something they enjoy, and let's get it out for another repetition. Let's see what happens next. Ms. Newton? Okay, now they got it out a couple hours later, and they can go back and answer those questions that they wrote, and they can write that at the bottom of their notes in the summary session. So they read their questions and summarize them. You can see it doesn't take that long to do that, but it's given them, I believe, 3 or 4 repetitions of their notes to help cement that information in there. Ms. Newton? Okay, as you can see, this is what notes should look like when there are at least 5 repetitions. You can see that there's stuff highlighted, there's stuff circled, there's chunking lines where information is separated, there's questions on the left side, there's a summary written at the bottom. This child that's done these notes have really gone and gone back and annotated their notes and worked with their notes and actually used their notes that they learned from their teacher to get multiple repetitions to cement information in. That's key. I like to use the example of if I'm building something, the first time I build it, it takes forever because I really don't know what I'm doing. But the more and more I build it, the more sturdy I become and steady I become until finally I can probably put the thing together in about 5 minutes because I've had multiple repetitions. It's just made me better. The same thing's true with softball. If I take 1 at bat, I'm probably going to strike out. But if I do it more and more and more, I get really good at it. The same thing's true with studying. If you look at it a few times, and it doesn't have to be for 2 solid hours, break it up. If you look at it a few times, you're definitely going to increase your overall success on the test. And that's research based. Ms. Newton? You can
I
go ahead.
believe we've come to the last, Mr. Smith.
Okay, good. I went through that rather quickly because I wasn't sure how much other material I had available. But if you have any questions about multiple repetitions, I'd be glad to answer them.
And I don't see any questions right now in the chat box, so we'll just leave that open though for folks if they do come up with something.
Yeah, it's pretty logical. It's just the more you do something, the better you get. And a lot of people don't realize that also transcends into the learning that they're doing at school. They look at it once in the classroom, and then they tend to put it away and never really revisit that material. That's the key, is to revisit it at a slow pace. You don't want to cram. It doesn't work. Thanks, Ms. Newton.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. That's great advice and help. So we're going to throw it back to you, Nicole and Denise. Do you guys want? You had success? All right, great.
Okay, so we are going to share with you what we have finally fixed. So we have logged into one of the students, actually one of my biological children. So I gave them the rights to play around in my kid's account tonight. So this is actually what an elementary school kid looks like. And we're going back. So
You see, their page of apps is not as much as what I was showing you a while ago. It's everything that is tailored to what they're learning.
And so the two apps we really want to focus on in elementary. And again, what we're saying, and these are their individual pathways. If you're trying to supplement with your child and help them, these are the adaptive learning pathways that are built for your child specifically. So for the reading one, it's Amplify. If you want to look. And so we can go to reading, Amplify reading. That's
has all the animals on it.
All the animals. That's where they will go. And it's going to start his pathway and where he's at tonight. And it is, the kids know how to work it. So you can see a little bit of it. We'll let it start and then we'll go to another one.
So all we can see is class link.
Oh, you can see his class link?
Oh,
Yeah. Make sure you're presenting your desktop, not just the tab.
Okay, you're so smart. Hold on. Let's do that then. Let's share that. Share maybe our entire screen. Would that help?
Yeah.
Okay. So we're going to do that. We think. No, it won't let us do that. Chrome wants you to share your screen. Yes. Okay, dismiss. Okay, hold on. Let's try this again. This is a tab. That's for
do window.
Wondering if this will work. All right, see if you can see it now.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Okay. So as you can see now, this is when you log into Amplify Reading, actually what it looks like for the child. And then they would just press the button and start playing, and it looks like a game for them. And it'll go into different reading remedial work that he needs. Okay. So we want to show you the math version for elementary. I'm going to have to stop sharing, I think, to do that individual page.
Yep.
We're learning how to work technology tonight, so you're just going to have to bear with us a little bit, but hopefully it'll chunk it for you. That's reading for elementary. Now we're going to show you elementary math. All right. Share a tab, and then back to here. Okay, go ahead. You want to show them math?
So now we're going to go to the iReady. This is also showing you the actual student's pathway, what it's going to show once he logs in here.
Can you see that, everyone? Do you see where it says next lesson? I want to make sure you're seeing the screen that we're seeing.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Okay.
So then it'll tell him his next thing he needs to work on is building team numbers.
And he's
currently in progress with that.
You want to?
Yeah, you can touch it. Go ahead. And you can go ahead.
Last round.
So currently
Match pairs of cards that show the same amount.
Okay.
And I will tell you, this is the same one for middle school. So for middle school, and we can show you what a middle school kid looks like as well, and we're going to do that, but they're just going to use iReady, and we have iReady reading and math for them. So I'm going to close this out for you. Leave that site. Yes. We're going to now show you middle school child. And well, I'm going to let you do that because I don't know how to do that. There you go. Again, using my child. Thank goodness I have a middle schooler.
And see, she's able to make her own little background.
I'm going to share that screen for you now. So for middle schoolers, it looks like this. And they're able to adapt their background, like she said. And for them, they only have one pathway, and that is iReady. So this is where they will go to do reading and math, the remedial work. Can you see that where she is doing, it says reading and math?
Yes.
Okay, so this is your middle school, same thing. This is their pathway. There's your reading option, or she can choose to do math. I will not mess with hers because she may hurt me. So there's that. And our very last one is high school.
And I have permission from this mother to use her daughter.
Lola.
Where did I get that?
Yeah. Lola. I'll share that screen for you.
Thank you.
Okay. So the very last one, and then we'll open it up to any questions. This is our high school student. I think I'm sharing the right one at this point, where you can see it. And their pathway is Edmentum, which is the palm trees somewhere. Not the palm trees. I lied.
She doesn't have hers in it. I just saw it.
Yes.
There it is.
We are both blind, so apologies to us.
Yeah.
So
remember, you have an ABC order.
Oh yes, thank you, thank you.
We can't see.
We can't see. There's two of us, and we can't see. Here is the high school one as well, and it is known as Edmentum, and that is their individual pathway. Just giving you a look at that. And so you can see her progress check right here.
And it has the reading, math, and the ELA all mixed in together for the high schoolers. It's 9th and 10th grade. And this Edmentum also has courseware, even though it's not part of their path, but it's called credit recovery. So if they've not done well in a particular course, the school can assign that course over for the child to take to get the credit reinstated for them.
And the really last thing we just want to wrap it up is just make sure that when you're doing homework with your kids, you're providing a distraction-free environment. You're making sure that it's well lit. You give them breaks as needed, and you're available for help, and you have a positive attitude about their homework, and you know who to communicate with, and we've given you those tools to contact teachers when you need to. So, and again, if you really have some, you need to do some remedial work with your child, and your teacher has said, hey, look, they're really behind in math, then you have these pathways to utilize as well. And also, just so you know, we don't turn those off during the summer. And we don't turn those off until August. So even next summer in June, they could utilize these to close that gap some too. But that is all we have.
Nicole and Denise, there were a couple of questions in the chat room. One was, a parent was asking, are these apps available for download by the parent, or is this just a view of what the children have access to, specific to Amplify and Math Elementary?
It's only for the kids.
Like, are they asking, like the kid, you can download it on their iPad at home if that's what you're asking. If that's what you're asking, yes, they can do it at home all they want. There's no limit to that. But it is for the kid. Yes, it's individualized for the kid.
Okay. And I believe Miss Oates had a question. She had raised her hand, but I'm not sure what her question was. So Miss Oates, if you wanted to ask your question, you'll just need to unmute your microphone. And while we're waiting on that, I'm going to go back to the chat. We had a couple of questions about AVID, and I believe Mr. Smith answered those. They were asking which schools had AVID, and that's at Union Middle School, Union High School, Roseboro-Salemburg Middle School, and Lakewood High School.
Yeah, I'd like to just reiterate what Nicole said about giving your kid a break while they're studying. That is so important, because I did it all wrong. I just sat down and would sit there for 2 hours and daydream.
Mhm.
Those study breaks, small chunks are much more effective.
They are, especially for small children whose attention span is very short. You need to chunk it, and you don't overwhelm them, because what's going to end up happening is you're going to be stressed and they're going to be stressed, and it's going to lead to tears. I've been there and done that.
I think we all have.
Especially as many times you have to look at it over and over and over again. For some people, it's once or twice, but for somebody like me, it's multiple times. And it's cemented in there if I do it the right way.
Yeah, great. Well, I want to thank you all very much for the information you've provided for our parents tonight, and I hope they have found it to be very useful. I know I have. I've learned a few things, particularly about taking short breaks when actually trying to learn something, rather than sitting there for hours and hours and hoping that it all sinks in. We will have this session uploaded. It was being recorded, so tomorrow I will upload it onto our website so you can go back and listen to it again, because I know there were a lot of things that these folks covered for us tonight, and also you can share it with your neighbors in your community if they were not able to join us tonight. We'll have the recorded session. We'll have the transcript, which will include any of the questions and answers that were asked, and also, to let you know, thinking ahead, go ahead and put the date down on your calendar. Our next Parent University session will be December the 1st, and that's going to be talking about colds, flus, COVID, and how to stay healthy during the holidays, because we have a nice long holiday break coming up in December, and we want to make sure everyone is aware of some simple strategies to help keep everyone healthy and well during the holidays. So be sure to save the date. That's December the 1st for It's a Cold, It's the Flu, It's COVID, How to Stay Healthy and Well During the Holidays. And if we don't have any additional questions, let me check the chat room one more time.
And my last PSA is make sure you get the Power School app and make sure you utilize your resources. We have lots of things we paid for that you can access at home to help your children.
Absolutely. And if you're not getting information through our delivery systems of Remind and the Blackboard All Call and the emails and the text messaging, please make sure you've got your updated information, contact information at the school. The data managers there at the school will help you with that to make sure it is correct and updated, because we want to make sure everything we send out to you, you're getting from us. And if that's everything, I don't see any other questions in the chat room. We'll have the Spanish session tomorrow for our Spanish-speaking families. And with that, we'll go ahead and sign off and wish everyone a good evening.
Thank you, Valerie.
Hey, Valerie, I thought there was a message about a high school student I saw pop up.
I think it's
okay. There it is, Miss Oates. Yep, she typed hers in. My child is in high school. Are these counted as grades or extra help? Not sure what you're referencing when you say, are these counted as grades? I don't know if you mean the session tonight or if you're talking about a specific assignment.
She could be talking about AVID. Yeah,
I think she's talking about the AVID notes.
Yeah, in an AVID classroom, which is a unique classroom, if your child has that on their schedule, then we do grade their notes and we do grade their planners and how organized they are. So it is part of the requirement in the AVID classroom. And I'm not sure if other elective classrooms or grading it like the AVID classroom does. But a child has to go through an interview process and actually want to be an AVID to subject themselves to this type of organization.
Okay. Hopefully that answered your question, Ms. Oates.
If
Anything
it
else,
didn't, feel free
anyone?
to reach out with us by email.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep, she said yes, thank you. Perfect, wonderful. Awesome, all righty. Well, if there's not anything else, going once, going twice. All righty, everyone have a good night. Thank you so much.
You.
Bye-bye.